All right, today what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to start putting a kit on my tractor to give myself front and rear remotes. I ordered it from Summit Hydraulics. I can get the kit, or I did get the kit for the front and rear remotes for the same price as it would have cost me for the OEM kit just for the front remotes. So I decided to go with Summit Hydraulics. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, and don't know if I'll get it done today, but we'll see how far I get.
I want to do a quick break-in here in the video and just go over all the parts that comes with the kit. I think it might help clarify some of the things I do in the video. Over here it's just your actuators, and down here is your valve body. These are just your plugs. But here's this bracket here and this bracket right here are going to be the ones that mount your valve body and actuators to your rollover protection. This bracket here and this bracket here are to mount to your loader so that you can have your quick releases so you can take the loader off and on. And then you have all your adapters and couplers, and then this is your wiring, and then of course you have your joystick. So I'll go through each one of these pieces and try and explain it, and hopefully it helps. This first coupler these pair couplers that I'm going to zoom into first here, these are just your rear remotes. So they're going to mount to the valve body, and that's going to be pretty self-explanatory once you see the kit installed. The next group of couplers that I'm zooming into are going to be for your front loader quick connects, so you can take it off and on, as well as the quick connects on the front third function. This particular adapter, you only have one of them, and it's going to mount to the valve body, and then one of your rear remotes will attach to that. So that is one of your adapters for your rear remote, and it's the double nut, so it makes it stick out a little further than the other one. Now this is your other adapter for your second rear remote coupler. It's typically mounted on the bottom if they're stacked up and down, and this one doesn't stick out quite as far as the one that uses the double nut adapter. This next adapter attaches to the relief port on your tractor. It might also be referred to as your bypass. These two adapters are for your quick connect at your loader so that you can disconnect it and remove your loader. These attach to the hose on one end and they attach to the coupler on the other. These four fittings are all bulkhead fittings, and they all apply to your front third function. One is at your quick connect at your loader, so you can take it off and on, and the next one is all the way at the front where your third function couplers attach to the bracket on your loader. These next four fittings all attach to your valve body. They're the only four fittings with this thread size, so you can't really put them in the wrong spot. Two are just plugs, and then the other two go on the other side of your valve body, and one is for the connection from the Power Beyond, and the other is for your connection from your relief on your tractor. This adapter goes at your Power Beyond port on the valve body for your loader, which is on your tractor. And finally, these two adapters attached to the AB ports on your valve body right next to the AB ports for your rear remotes, and they feed your front third function. I'll also do a very brief overview of the brackets. They're a little more self-explanatory, but I'll go over quickly. These two brackets are what's used to mount your valve body to your rollover protection. These two brackets are for the couplers at the midpoint of your run up to your front third function so that you can disconnect them and remove your loader. And then this last bracket is the one that mounts all the way up by your bucket on your loader, which is where your couplers for your front third function attach. And now I'll go ahead and go back to the video of the install.
This kit is for the two remotes, two spool on the back, and then the front remote. So I don't have multiples on the back. All right, I'm gonna Now, the only thing I did that I'm not gonna film, you have two adapters right here for the pressure and return. The other side, on this particular kit, are just plugs. So that's your pressure and return. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move to this. Now, I found the instructions on the Summit, at least the Summit kit I have, which is kind of a combo kit, so maybe it's a special case, but at any rate, I find the instructions to be very generic. I mean, they almost assume that you have a pretty good idea of what you have to do out here to get this installed. Hey, girl. So I'm gonna go ahead and start working. Now, of course, on mine, oh, watch out, big girl. Watch out, big girl. On one of these actuators is going to be for my rear remotes, and one of them is going to be for my front remotes. So on this, you have a B and an A, and there's two fittings that you're going to use. These are for the two rear remotes. So I'm going to use these two fittings, and they're different. One of them has like a little lock nut on the top, so it's kind of a double nut, and then this one isn't. The double nut one, according to the picture I'm looking at, goes on the top. It's just kind of an exploded view. It would be really nice if they would just kind of put in the instructions what particular fitting goes into what lettered port on your manifold, but it doesn't really do that. So it is what it is. So I'm gonna spray it down with some silicone. I'm using, you can use hydraulic oil. I'm using 100% silicone spray because it's good. I find it's really good for the O-rings, the rubber O-rings. So that's what I prefer to use. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this one started, and then I'll get this one started. So this one's longer, and if you look in the picture, you'll see the remotes. The top remote sticks out further than the top coupler sticks out further than the bottom. All right, so next I'll go ahead and get my coupler on. This is my other coupler, the rear. Okay, so there's my couplers for my rear remotes. Now I need to start routing or just laying out my front remotes that are going to come from the back of the tractor. And there's multiple different kinds of these adapters. Which again goes back to what I was saying about the instructions not being the best. But like this one has just a little bit of a different look to it than this one. Same sizes, just a little different. And then this one is actually kind of like that one, but instead of just a ring, two size rings, it has a washer. So that's a third different kind. So, you know, it would have been nice if it kind of were clear about where some of these go. Now for the first step with my particular installation, the first thing you have to do before you put the mounting plate on, before you put the manifold on the mounting plate, you have to get these little brackets put on. So once those are on, I can go ahead and get it on my mounting plate. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to kind of figure out how I want to mount this on my rollover protection bar before I go mounting this plate. I'm not sure what direction I want it. So I'm going to take a walk out to the tractor and figure that part out. All right, I took a quick look on my tractor, and when I go out there and I mount it for real, I'll include that. But I just figured out how I wanted my bracket put on and what was going to work best, and this is what's going to work best. All right, so that's all done. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and get this mounted onto my tractor because I've got to figure out all my hosing and all that stuff, and that would be a whole lot easier to do if this was on my tractor. Let me get set up outside. I'll go ahead and get this mounted, and then we'll take the next steps. All right, this is where I ended up mounting my rear remotes. I did have to move my toolbox, my factory toolbox, to the other side. I didn't want my remotes on that side because my Power Beyond is over on this other side over here. My hose might not reach. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and get my hoses figured out. I'm probably going to start by running my Power Beyond and my return down here on the bottom ports. Then I'll come back and work with my front remote. Okay, I've got my seat off, and I'm going to show everybody where the Power Beyond valve on this Kioti is. This is, again, it's a CX2510, and where the return line is. So that's where the power is going to go to my new third function and rear remote valve, and then it's going to come back from the return on that valve, the new valve, to the return, old return down here. The instructions are going to tell you to take the tire off. Don't take the tire off. You don't need to do that. That's probably true on a CK or maybe an older model of a CK. But on this one, you don't. What you do is first you have to take off the seat, which is 4 bolts, and then there's a plate that covers all of this. And there's 4 bolts along the back and 3 along the front. And you work that plate out of there, and you got everything open. So right here, if you look, this is the return line, and it's a hard pipe.
I wanted to do a quick pause here. What I'm circling right here is actually a check valve, and the threads on the inlet side of the check valve are not correct for this kit, so there's no fitting that I can use to get the line connected to that side of the check valve and keep it in the system. So I removed the check valve. I haven't decided if I'm going to replace it yet or not. Before, the Power Beyond port was much lower than the bypass port that I'm showing here, and drainage could have been a problem, but now the valve body for the return line on the new third function is much higher than that port. So I'm not sure if I'm going to replace it yet or not, but I wanted to let y'all know because you may or may not need to buy an additional fitting if you want to keep that check valve in your system.
It's a hard pipe line, so we're going to just pull this metal line off and not discard it, but set it to the side. This won't be reused. And then I'll show you where the Power Beyond is. On a CK, the valve body for the joystick up here is actually behind the tire. On some of the older CKs, I'm not sure about the new ones. I thought they were mounted similar to this one, but I'm not sure. This is a CX, so let's just stick with that. But the valve body for the loader is actually under the tractor on the right side below your foot. The one you want is on the back side right here. Right here. And you can find it because if you follow that hard pipe all the way back, then that pipe's gonna go right back to where I showed you on top. This is your pressure going to your new third function valve. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get this off. I'm gonna take the top off first because on the bottom, it's gonna leak. I won't have any drainage up here, so I'm gonna just try and get the top off. Even though it's hard piped, I'm hoping I got enough flexibility in it to move it out of the way. These are 27 millimeters. These fittings up here. All right, that line's off. I can go ahead and get this fitting right here off. Oh, there goes some fluid, not too much. Now I'm going to go down to the bottom and I'm going to go ahead and get this this line taken off on the other side and hook up to my Power Beyond. Okay, so here's a quick look at the Power Beyond port connection. Okay, this is that hard line that did feed it. I need to get this out of here. It didn't look like it was going to be an easy task getting this out. So. And it's not going to disappoint. Success! That was no fun. And here's my line that goes to my return, and it is way too long. But it's the only one I got. All the others are a lot longer than that one. I know it ain't those. So now I gotta try and figure out a cool route for this line. For now, I'm just gonna leave it just like this, and come back to it tomorrow. All right, I'll be finishing this bad boy up tomorrow. It's supposed to be a much nicer day tomorrow, so that's good. All right, I'm back out here. I'm gonna try and finish this up. I'm gonna finish this up today. But I was thinking about this routing last night, and I don't like it. That plate that goes over, I was gonna do a cutout and then put some rubber edge protector on it, and I just don't like the idea of it. I got hoses that are too close to this moving part right here for the 3-point hitch. I'm gonna have to go down out the bottom and then come up on the back outside. I was trying to avoid that just to protect the lines. I think that's gonna work right there. That's not too bad. It has one loop. It's gotta go here. Yeah. So that's going to be my route. And I'll have to pull these up nice and snug up against my fuel tank. I don't want anything hanging out where a limb can grab. Now I'll go ahead and get my pressure line from my Power Beyond to run. It's gonna go right here. All right, that's good. All right, I'm happy with that. And then my two for my front remote are gonna come out of here, and I'll have to follow it on down. All right, here's a view of the hoses. You can see I just had to make a couple loops with them. Everything's pretty good. They're big loops, so nothing's pinched or too tight. Everything looks like it's gonna work really well. It's nice and flat, so that plate won't be up against it. It's away from my linkages. So, all right. Oh, I need glasses. Oh, my aging eyes. So according to this, my quick connects go on this bracket, which then bolts to this bracket. Oh, I see. So they're putting it way up. They're putting it right up here in this spot. Just have to figure out what direction it needs to go. And that would go just like that. That's pretty good actually. I like that. That's a nice setup. All right, good deal. So the first thing I can do is I can go ahead and get my fittings put on here. All right. And I'm gonna go ahead and get this mounted because it just makes it easier to route these hoses if everything is bolted on. Hey girl, hey, baby. What you see? Hmm? Hey you, there's my other one. Everybody wants attention. All right, let's got that. So now, next step is going to be to go ahead and get these hoses run from here to the back. I'm definitely going to have to try and make sure they're protected. So let's get that done. Alright, so there's only the two fittings for your manifold here for your front remotes are easy to find because they're the ones with the O-rings. So just make sure that both of these have the O-rings on them. I'm going to be picking up these little plastic caps for the next month. They're all over the place. I'm not the most organized person. I went to diesel mechanic school when I was young. And I think that's the one thing I got in trouble for the most. Was not being organized with my tools. I got better while I was there, but I'm still disorganized. Okay, that's good. Get these lines run. The only thing I know for sure is that they're going to go straight down through there. The rest I have no idea. So I can just start by doing that. Just getting these put. So I can go ahead and leave a bunch of slack and get these installed. I'm going to just go ahead and get everything back here wire tied, put together. And I'm going to want this kind of 90ing off to an angle, on an angle about like that. That's kind of where I want it. All right, I've got my lines run down here. I found a good route, a really good route. And it turned out I didn't have to make any loops. The lengths of these hoses actually worked out well. I just had to find a route that it wasn't the most direct route, but that's all right. All right, so that's that. So now I'll go ahead and get my couplings put on right here, and then we can run the hoses the rest of the way to the front. snapped in. Great. All right, so that's mounted. All right, I can go and get these mounted. I don't know which, you can go either way. It don't matter which one goes where. First, I got to get a bulkhead fitting put on there. Right here, I'm going to leave a little bit of slack right here. Hey, goats! Put these right here, and I'm pretty happy with that. Everything's tucked in nice and tight. I think this is going to be good. That's going to work. Get this done. The only thing left after this is the joystick. Alright, so last thing is this. Let's see if I can get this off. Nope. I have to get something to get that off. Well, I don't know what it's going to take to get this off without messing it up. I mean, I assume it screws on, but maybe I'm wrong. Let's see if I can get this off. I certainly don't feel like it wants to come off at all. And I really don't want to have to cut this thing to get it off. Yeah, that thing does not want to come off at all. I think I feel threads. No, it's not threads. It's like teeth. Goodness gracious. Still don't want to come off. People over at Kioti did not want this handle off. Ever. Good night. Holy mackerel. Yeah. That wasn't coming off, guys. So if you're doing this, don't even bother. Go ahead and cut it. Because it actually has a tit in here that goes through that hole. Shoo. Very good. Of course, the next question is I might have to cut this off to get this handle on. Because I don't think this handle's not gonna go on. Look at that. Man, it's crazy. I'm actually gonna have to cut that off. Yeah, I didn't want to have to do this, but I don't really have a choice. I've got to get this off. And now that I'm done with all my big stuff, I'm gonna go ahead and take a minute. I'm gonna clean up my work area, pick up all my big tools, and put them up. I'm not gonna need them. If I do, I'll just go get them again. But it's a little bit too disorganized here even for me, and that's saying something. All right, picked up. Much better. 30 minutes of cleanup is a blink of an eye to YouTube watchers. All right. Get this off. This is what I need to do. Ah, sweet. Thinking I want those buttons turned inward just a little bit. Just have to play with it after I get it all installed. That'll work. All right. So I can get my wires routed. All right, I got my wires run. Just wire tying that. I'll show you what I did. You can barely even see the wire right down in this little slot. It just comes out. I put a little slot in this piece so it could come out the side and down the side right here. And then I cut a little slot in this piece right here so it would go in. And then I just tied the power to my cigarette lighter, like I said, and then came out the back with the harness. All right, so I got my wire run, and it just comes up, and this plug harness, it just splits into four, and the four plugs go to your two actuators. So I need to tighten all that up down there, but what I'd have to do right now is I'm ready to crank it up and do a leak test, make sure I don't have any problems, and then I can button everything back up and be done with it. And later I'll test the function, and if I don't like the orientation of the buttons as far as what they do, open and close and grapple or whatever, you can always just change the plugs on your actuators to get the buttons to do what you want them to do. All right, everything looks good, no leaks. So all that's left for me to do now is get everything put back together, Everything's zip tied, I need to zip tie these wires, arrange those. Other than that, that's it. I'm done. All right, I'm gonna give a quick final word. As far as the kit goes, the kit's really nice. For what you pay and what you get, I think it's really nice. If it holds up and if those actuators hold up out in the weather and after repeated use, then I'm going to tell you that it's really hard to beat this Summit Hydraulics kit. I do like all the mount locations for the hydraulic hookups there. I think one of the most difficult things that would really help this kit is to get the hose links closer to correct. The Power Beyond was a little easier to work around than the Return. The Return was it was difficult to figure out how to get that in there correctly. The mounting location, it's as good as you're gonna get on an aftermarket, I think. So that's it, I'm happy with it. I'm real happy with the install. This is not, now I will say this is not a install for the faint of heart. It is, I didn't find it to be technically difficult mechanically. It's just a matter of getting everything routed, getting everything hooked up and plumbed. And again, the directions seemed a little bit on the generic side. All right, so that's it. So I appreciate y'all watching, and if you enjoy the video, please subscribe and like. Thanks again.